media house. You do not expect that media house to go off a different agenda, follow up on issues, and bring you what government is hiding from. It's not going to happen. You see, so these are some of the threats to it. So at the end of the day, I don't want us to come to a position where we blame at all. The journalists is doing what they can in the situation that they have found themselves in. Bear in mind that they don't even get paid properly. So there are already enough issues to go against. And I mean, I'm speaking from my experience. Maybe your experience or somebody's experience, maybe you work in some amazing journalism in this country that you want to share experiences. But this is my experience. Okay, the journalists are always enough. And the institutions, the media commission, all these institutions are there to ensure that the environment in which we're practicing is sanitized so we can focus on our work.
Thank you.
Thank you. They say we agree to disagree, of course. And as he was telling that at least on 2 occasions I have disagreed with him on some of the stories he's written. And I told him that we get along. It should be that way, and I think he thinks that it gets to disagree and agree. Sad to see that it is really going to get worse as we upgrade the regulations. And my reason being that, one, we are looking at media ownership and job security. Like you said, the politicians own the station, the media houses. And I quite remember in university, one of the projects I had to work on was whether media pluralism was owned or was enhanced our democracy, which I agreed to. I wrote in favor of the position. Today, if I'm giving the same topic, I think I will read into it. I wouldn't agree. But then the point I want to make is that media ownership, job security is one thing that we can at. If, of course, you put out your views, your media or your owner does not agree, you stand a chance of risking or losing your job. So definitely it only gets worse. And for the attacks on the media or media freedom, it's only going to get worse. And we need to brace ourselves. I have been beaten twice in my job, and I've told myself it won't happen again. Yes, because you also have to look out for yourself. The fact of the matter is that when you come back to the office, the best the DJ can do is to condemn the act. And I remember the last time the DJ asked its members to boycott the police service for an attack on a journalist. Just the following day, media houses still went ahead to cover the police service. So the discouragement, or it gives them they are emboldened to do that. Let's take the issue of Stanley Bell. The soldier who attacked Stanley Bell, we are told is a lieutenant colonel. This is a senior officer. Previously, it would be the corporal or a sergeant. These are the other ranks who would perpetrate such crimes. But if senior officers are doing this today, and like I said, it is only going to get worse as we approach the election. So for me, the advice I would give to my colleagues is that raise yourself. Be careful where you step. Don't push too far. If you think you can, of course. But if you go and they beat you, nothing will happen. Of course, nothing will really happen. So we should just get ready and raise ourselves for the best. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know why I kept laughing at the submission. Submission. Hello.
Thank you very much. My name is from Pan-African TV. Mine is more or less a fruitful thought, and I just want us all to look at this. We're asking ourselves, what is the difference between legality and morality? Legality, we're talking about the freedom of expression here, and morality, we're talking about certain things that have happened in recent times. Now, my example that I want to cite is recently during the WASSCE examination, a gentleman, I don't know his name, was seen on screen literally insulting the president for his fortune in the WASSCE examination. Now, we realize that there were a lot of calls by some of us Ghanaians for the presidency to act on the issue. Fortunately, unfortunately, the presidency didn't really met out any punishment to the young man in question. This same president at one time who took that decision not to more or less act, because I understood that in other jurisdiction would have been a different issue to look at. Now, we the same Ghanaians decided to chastise the presidency or our leaders for not taking action on that. So I asked myself that what is the situation? Is it that we are having a situation where leadership has failed or citizens have failed? Which of the situation we have at hand? So that is what I just want us to ponder over, based on the example that we saw of the Wasi students.
Are you okay? Okay. Before him, yes.
Well, I'm just an Accra boy. Well, my question will go to Vanessa as well. I wanted to know if you've ever regretted in the past, doing a story or making a story. For instance, that of just one group of companies, what you then your thought was on them as compared to today. My question is, have you ever regretted or probably have you achieved your aim then? And then secondly, was it just to say that we were having a perceived civil rights leader, or uncovered culture and understandable leader when it comes to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and the current president Nana Akufo-Addo? Thank you.
Okay, so how do I respond to it? And we have the last set of questions here. So,
Well, for the two leaders, I want to speak in the context of what we are doing in terms of tolerance and their respect for media freedom. I have written extensively about it, and I have said on the occasion that under the Mahama regime, there was a lot of space for dissent, there was a lot of space for disagreement, and I didn't have the cause to be afraid. But as other aspects, I want to stay away from that. In terms of the stories I did, there were issues I found and then I put them out. So there's nothing to regret for doing what was right and is right. I still find a lot of people on my Facebook wall when I complain about the current government, the administration, they come to say, well, you apologize to Ghanaians for what you did against Mahama. And every single day you read comments on my wall, you find something there. I have not regretted any of the stories I did under the Mahama regime, and if I had the opportunity, I would do them all over again. So there's nothing I regret. Thank you.
the last set of questions, Prof. Any other? Okay, so after 12, we just start now.
All right, thank you. Good evening to everyone. Yes, my friend from African TV on this issue about those assessments for sanction. I want to find out, does the president give directives, or there are agencies or state institutions that give directives? If what the president did was wrong, is it the responsibility of the president? But how things come after the premier of our job, the president shouted, arrest him, referring to Uganda. Let's take the responsibility to the executive to issue orders for suppose wrongdoers to be arrested. So I think we need to establish discipline. Now, to the topic of the discussion, especially coming from our female concerns about welfare of journalists. I think the Ghana Association of Journalists, they handle part of the role. Now, broadcasting is a profession. Whether who recruits you or who employs you, there must be standard. And if we don't have standard, then people can be recruited today and fired tomorrow. But if the Ghana Association of Journalists have a preamble and have a co-value of how people or journalists are recruited and fired, then it will help make people or journalists responsible. But if anybody can be recruited at any point in time, it therefore also implies that at any point in time, such persons can be fired. With ownership, you have less to do. Just as earlier speaker said, you have the right to own a media house. So you can't say because he is a party chairman, he is a businessman, or he is a chief, he can't or should not own a media house. What you can regulate or what we can do is to have the rules. You can't pick ABC at any point in time to become your employees. And you can't sit and wake up and yawn. And because you have gone today, you can fire the person. Until this is done, then as I can confirm that for employees of said broadcasting houses, I have no option than to dance the tune of the employer. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. We'll allow the speakers to respond and wrap up.
The model.
First is about the last point that was made in terms of whether the president is the person who should be the directives. Well, we don't expect the president to be the one on a daily basis commanding the police or other people to act. But of course, we do know that if the president is passionate about a particular situation, those following him or his appointees will act. Apart from that, we are very unfortunate incident where the president, in speaking about the Swahili incident, did indeed say that it is not right for people to say that the attack on Swahili should be seen as attack on media freedom. And actually said that, well, J.P. Gampa, unfortunately, was murdered in his house, and nobody described it as an attack on Parliament. So, if therefore somebody working with the media organization or entity has been shot, why would we describe it as an attack on media freedom? And I think that was really quite unfortunate. It really revealed what the president's thoughts were on that particular unfortunate incident, even as we all know that a member of his government, or a member of his government, Kennedy Akwon, had made certain comments that many would say, well, could have possibly led to what happened. Now, the other point is the responsibility of journalists themselves in terms of safety. We have had the situation where journalists are attacked. We decide to follow up, and the journalists themselves show no interest in having the issues addressed. In fact, there have been cases where we would have to bypass the journalists and petition the police administration. And when we follow up on the petition, the police will say, look, this is an assault, is a criminal matter. The person who is the victim must show interest before we can take a decision in terms of whether to prosecute or whatever. But quite often, the journalists themselves would say, we are not interested. In fact, the recent incident at TV3 involving Mr. William, the journalist, I think the Ghana Armed Forces issued a statement in which it said there are discussions with the management of TV3 to try and resolve the matter. So when criminal matters end up being resolved in terms of, oh, we are sorry, and so on, then of course, what is the example to show that people Traffic Communications Group. When then Kenashibe decided they were taking up the matter and so on and so forth, the matter had gone to court, the journalist went and said, I'm no longer interested. I'm advised to withdraw. And there have been several instances like that. So when that continues to happen, who should be blamed? If the one who slap says, yes, I'm okay with the slap, don't worry. You can't pretend to be more Catholic than the Pope because you want to defend rights and so on and so forth. Because the victim says, I'm okay. And you say that, no, I want to continue. The question about ownership is so critical. If owners are partisan and therefore would not even do the professional thing, you will not get their media houses to do the professional thing. You don't expect a media house that is aligned to the NDP to begin to expose ails within the NDP, and the same goes for the NDC. That then results in the trust that I talked about. And if you are a journalist and you don't have the trust of the public, then there is not much you can do. When I was practicing at the Chronicle those days, and I still see Kofi Cookson as perhaps a journalist in Ghana. And I remember those days, your story will never make the front page before you do this, to do this. He said. You come and say, so what is critical about this story? What are you revealing about this story? And I remember a point, an incident where Joseph Cookson, who was then our business editor, and a son to Kofi Cookson. Kofi once said, Joseph, I don't think you are doing anything on this business page. And then I said, oh, but every day the page is filled up. And this is the center spread. 2 pages is filled. And he said, daily. He said, no, that's not what I'm talking about. Look, this guy has been doing this page for the last 3 years, and there has not been any single court threat, a threat of going to court against him. So that shows that he's doing journalism. And this was the owner and publisher of the paper saying that, look, this is what has to be done as journalism and not, and the Kofi would say, don't worry, let them go to court. I remember doing the story those times when there was this massive cocaine incident. And I did a story, I think the headline was how Francisco failed Ghana. And Francisco was then the National Security Minister. And then the next day there was a threat to go to court. And Kofi Cookson was called and said, oh, if you only have the what is the next story? You send it to me because I think I have other doses to add and so on and so forth. So the owners and the attitudes and the confidence and so on and so forth is something that is so important. But today, it's almost like we want to manage and stay safe. We don't want to lose the government. We don't want to antagonize the government and so on and so forth. So I believe the way to go, journalists must begin to act when they are attacked, must begin to assert their rights when they are violated. But of course, we cannot compel media owners to do things the way we don't want to do it. But as individual journalists, perhaps we could begin to build a small movement of journalists who would want to do what journalism is, who would want to be independent, who would want to be critical, and would want to serve the public interest. And maybe through that nucleus, we will be able to revive and rejuvenate the spirit that we all admire in the past, when a core group of journalists, were taking on government and exposing the ills of society every day. I think we can have a lot more conversation beyond that. That's
I just want to say something briefly about the person saying why are journalists or whatever not as fearless as they used to be. Just to say that we shouldn't come to that point that it should only whoever has to speak. We should find it normal that you can express your views. We should find it normal that you can disagree. I shouldn't do my work and be fearing that someone will attack me. Sometimes, like Fallon said, we tend to put the blame on the journalist. And I was arguing with somebody who works at the Nassau House, and people, why are you not talking about the increasing irresponsibility in the media and all of that? And my point is that there are many ways of the secret race. You should not attack a journalist and use irresponsible practice as an excuse. if that is the case, are we also going to say the politicians should behave irresponsibly? We're also going to start attacking them. You can go to God and see. And between 2015 and 2019, I've been seen 5 times for defamation. But on each of the occasions, when I filed my defense, they ran away, they never went back to the case. Because as they see the defense, they knew you have no chance of winning against me. So, if a journalist is punished, you can go to court, you have other means of seeking redress. There's nothing that justifies attacking another person, even if what they do is wrong. Otherwise, then they are saying let's go bypass. If a politician behaves irresponsibly, you can also kill him or her and argue that they didn't conduct themselves well. But that's not how we have to behave, or that's not what should happen. And so we shouldn't put the blame on journalists or want to say, well, this person should do this. And sometimes the various people, they need to be called out and say, why is this person not, or why is that person not being vociferous? If you are speaking against your party, you've called them all manner of names. The very things Suleiman Ibrahim and some of us endured in 2016 from the NDC people are not praising us. The same things you write there and then get them attacking you, insulting you, maligning you. They write the same things and they come praise you just because it's against another party. The NPP people are hired to insult and vilify. If they should lose the next election, they will come back in support of each other. So we should get to that point that people should know that, well, a journalist cannot be on my side all the time. They should be on the side of the truth. And if I don't like what they're saying, I'm going to tell them why they are wrong. But I'm not going to question or take away their right to say them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, I invite Beatrice to give us a little remark, then we can have refreshments.
You know, I'll always ask that you laugh. So, on this note, I believe that we have brought the program to a successful end. However, from the discussions, the questions, and the presentations, you realize that we have to do more. When I was in KNUST, my dean of students told me a story about, I think, a goat, a sheep, and a cow. The goat and the sheep were always fighting. The third animal said it was not my concern after all. One day, the cause of the fight, one of them had the king, and the king had to be appeased. But the third person who stood somewhere and said, I don't care, was the one the boss asked for. But that's exactly what I'm going to be appeased with. The two people who were fighting lived, but he was rather sacrificed. It's a story of media freedom and freedom of expression today. If we refuse to speak about it, if we refuse to be actively involved, one day our children will ask us, Mommy, what happened? How did we get here? And I'm sure we would have disappointed the next generation. On this note, I want to say a very big thank you to our guest speakers. It shows that some very quality time went into the preparation. And we thank you. We hope that you people will be the voices of conscience. Even if all of us are afraid to speak out, please keep speaking for us. And don't be scared, knowing that. I want to thank everybody who joined us virtually and is here with us on behalf of the Center for Social Democracy and FES. I want to say a very big thank you. We will announce the next virtual public forum, so be out for us. You can also go to Facebook and like our page, Center for Social Democracy. Have a very lovely evening.
Thank you very much, Beatrice. to the back, but just by way of protest, Manasseh have copies of his books, particularly the 4th John. Yeah, so if you're interested, you can see him for a copy. At this point, thanks for coming and refresh yourselves.